12 reasons to never lie to Scorpio, or you will regret it very much. There's a moment so silent, so still it sends a chill down your spine. You said something, maybe just a white lie, maybe a twisted truth. You thought it was clever, maybe even harmless. You watched the Scorpio's face, still unreadable, almost indifferent. You told yourself, they didn't notice. But here's the truth that no one warns you about. They always notice. They might smile politely. They might nod. They might even change the subject as if nothing happened. But beneath that still surface, something ancient has awakened. You see, lying to a Scorpio is not like lying to anyone else. It's not just a breach of trust. It's a spiritual disturbance, a trespass against something sacred, their intuitive bond with truth. And the worst part? You won't know you've been caught until it's too late. Because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, and the underworld. This sign was born to see through illusion, to dismantle deception, and to transform betrayal into wisdom. They don't need evidence. They don't need receipts. They feel your energy shift. They hear the tremble behind your voice. They know. And when you lie to them, you're not dealing with a petty argument. You're inviting a metaphysical reckoning. They may never call you out. They may never yell, cry, or make a scene. But one day you'll realize the bond is broken. The doors have closed, and you can't go back. Not because they're cruel, but because the Scorpio soul operates on a frequency of pure authenticity. You betrayed that vibration, and now they've retreated into their own private dimension, one where you no longer exist. This isn't just about astrology. This is about soul contracts, about the sacred agreements we make with people who love us deeply and expect the same truth in return. And when that truth is broken, especially with a Scorpio, the universe keeps score. So if you're wondering why they disappeared, why the energy is cold, why they're not the same, ask yourself, did I lie? Did I manipulate? Did I twist the truth? Because if you did, what follows isn't just silence. It's karmic. In this video, I'm going to reveal 12 spiritual, psychological, and emotional reasons why lying to a Scorpio is a decision you will come to regret. Not because they're vengeful, but because they are wired by the universe to destroy illusion and protect sacred truth. So before you utter another half-truth to a Scorpio, watch this until the very end. You might just save yourself from a storm you never saw coming. Reason 1. Scorpio reads between the lines always. You didn't say anything directly. You didn't confess, admit, or slip. But somehow they knew. You were smiling. Your words were carefully chosen. You even rehearsed what to say, made sure you kept your tone even. Yet the moment the words left your lips, they looked at you a little too long. Not suspicious, just silent. And that's the first reason you should never lie to a Scorpio. They don't just listen to your words, they listen to the spaces between them. Scorpios are ruled by Pluto, the planet of hidden truth, psychological depth, and the underworld of motives most people aren't even conscious of. This gives them a near paranormal sensitivity to what's not being said. They're not looking for facts. They're sensing frequency. They don't need you to break down what happened step by step. They already picked up the change in your tone when you mentioned that person's name. They noticed how your energy shifted when you talked about where you were last night. They clocked the way you paused just a second too long. To most people, that pause is nothing. To a Scorpio, it's a doorway. Because Scorpio is a master of emotional pattern recognition. Over time, they track how you speak, how you react, how you cover pain, how you explain things. So when you lie, even once, your vibration deviates from your truth, and they feel it like a spiritual static in the air. Think of it like a polygraph machine connected to their nervous system, and the only thing more precise than their perception? Their patience. Scorpio won't always confront you immediately. No, they often wait. Because they know liars eventually talk themselves into corners. They observe. They remember. And most chilling of all, they don't forget. Let me tell you a real story. A woman I worked with years ago once told me about her Scorpio best friend. They had been close for years, soul sister close. But one day she lied about something seemingly small. A message she received from her ex, which she decided to hide. She thought, it's no big deal. I'll ignore it, it'll go away. Why start drama? Her Scorpio friend never said a word. But she knew. She didn't accuse. She didn't ask. She simply started withdrawing, slowly, casually, like water receding before a tidal wave. 6 months later, the friendship was gone, not with a fight, with a silence so complete it echoed. Because when a Scorpio detects dishonesty, no matter how minor, they begin reevaluating the entire foundation of your connection. And once the trust line is broken, it's never the same. And this is what most people get wrong. You don't have to tell a Scorpio a lie out loud to lose them. You just have to insult their intuition. Because to lie to a Scorpio is to say, "I think you're blind." But Scorpio is anything but blind. They see the soul beneath the skin. And when your energy doesn't match your words, they know. That's when the trust begins to rot quietly, invisibly, until there's nothing left. Life lesson: never lie to someone whose soul listens more than their ears. With Scorpio, honesty isn't just respect, it's survival. Speak truth or prepare to feel their silence carve you out of their life like you were never there. Reason 2: lying awakens their shadow side. You thought you were lying to avoid conflict, to keep the peace, to spare feelings, to protect yourself. But when you lie to a Scorpio, you don't just create distance. You awaken something ancient inside them. That something is the Scorpio shadow. Let's make something clear. Scorpio is not afraid of darkness. They were born into it. Scorpio is the only sign of the Zodiac that willingly walks through emotional fire, seeking truth in places others avoid. While others sugarcoat, they dig. While others distract, they stare into the abyss. And when you lie to them, you unleash a part of them that most never get to see, and you never want to. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, ruled by Pluto and Mars. The combination of these two planets means that beneath their calm surface lies emotional magma. Power, rage, heartbreak, betrayal, and deep psychic knowing. But most of the time they keep this power locked away. They work hard to stay balanced, composed, even forgiving. But lies? Lies are keys. And when the wrong key is turned, the floodgates open. I once read a Scorpio researcher describe it like this: when someone lies to a Scorpio, their shadow side doesn't just awaken, it transforms. It becomes a spiritual force that reclaims its power by burning illusions to the ground. They don't explode like Aries. They don't argue like Gemini. They don't cry like Cancer. They metamorphose. They may suddenly become ice cold, or cut you off without explanation, or start reflecting your own behavior back at you like a mirror you can't escape. Why? Because Scorpio's shadow isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. Not for you, for themselves. When they detect a lie, they instinctively know, this person is not safe for my soul. And then the armor goes on. It's not just emotional protection, it's energetic warfare. They seal their aura, lock their heart, and channel their pain into power. You may think they're overreacting. You may try to explain, twist, rationalize. But Scorpio doesn't respond to excuses. They respond to energy. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who dated a Scorpio woman. Beautiful, intuitive, deep. But he had secrets. Nothing dramatic. Just a few things he wasn't ready to share. He thought, she doesn't need to know that. It'll ruin things. She never asked. But one night, after a simple conversation, she looked at him differently. Quieter. Still. Distant. He felt it. He asked what was wrong. She smiled and said, nothing. I'm just tired. That was the last week they spoke like before. Because what he didn't realize was this. She knew. Not the facts. Not the details. But she felt the shift. And once she felt it, her shadow stepped in. She withdrew, reevaluated, and then vanished. No big fight. No closure. Just karma at work. That's what happens when you lie to a Scorpio. Especially one who has done the inner work. You awaken the guardian of their soul. The one that doesn't speak but watches. The one that doesn't beg but walks away forever. Life lesson: don't awaken what you can't handle. A Scorpio shadow isn't evil, it's sacred. It exists to protect what is real. And when you lie, you tell them the truth is no longer welcome. So they send their shadow to clean house. And once that door is closed, you won't get back in. Reason 3. When Scorpio is silent, it's already over. Most people misunderstand silence. They think it means nothing is wrong, that they're in the clear, that the worst has passed. But when it comes to Scorpio, Silence isn't the calm after the storm, it is the storm. And if you lie to a Scorpio and they've gone silent, it's already too late. You see, Scorpio doesn't always scream, confront, or demand answers. They observe. They absorb. And when the emotional scales finally tip, they disappear emotionally, mentally, spiritually before you even realize what happened. Their silence is not confusion. It's conclusion. Scorpios are one of the most emotionally intelligent signs in the zodiac. They don't need long debates or dramatic blowouts to know someone has betrayed them. Once they sense a lie, their internal system goes into quiet shutdown. It's not because they're weak, it's because they're wise. Because when Scorpio goes silent, they're not avoiding the truth. They've accepted it. And when that happens, the emotional door begins to close behind you, gently, finally. Let me give you a real-world metaphor. Imagine a library where the most sacred stories of your connection are stored. Your memories, your secrets, your shared laughter. Now imagine Scorpio is the librarian of that soul space. The moment they detect dishonesty, they begin walking through the aisles with quiet purpose, removing the books, turning off the lights, locking the shelves. No shouting, no farewell, just closure. I once heard from a woman who dated a Scorpio man for years. She described him as intense, loyal, private, but deeply loving. One day she lied. It wasn't malicious. She was scared, ashamed of a past mistake. She hid it, thinking it would protect their bond. The moment she told the story, he looked at her and simply nodded. He didn't argue. He didn't accuse. He just changed. Over the next week, he stopped initiating conversations. He stopped sharing deeply. She asked him what was wrong and he said, "I'm fine." But he wasn't. The Scorpio silence had taken over. And within a month he was gone. No fight. No reason she could grasp. Just that heavy silence she still remembers years later. This is what most people get wrong. Scorpio isn't seeking revenge. They're seeking alignment. And if your energy no longer matches the truth, they don't try to fix it. They let go. Quietly. Painfully. Completely. Because they know this. Arguing with a liar is a waste of spirit. And Scorpio guards their spirit like a priest guards a temple. Life lesson. Silence from a Scorpio isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of self-respect. When you lie to them, they don't always punish you. Sometimes they just disappear. And that absence, that hollow space they leave behind, that is your punishment. Reason 4. They don't get angry, they get karmic. Most people expect anger when they lie. A blow-up, a screaming match, something explosive that makes it obvious they've been caught. But Scorpio doesn't waste fire. They use time. You see, when you lie to most signs, you might face a moment of conflict. But when you lie to a Scorpio, you trigger a karmic clock, one that begins ticking silently in the background. Not because they're plotting your downfall, not because they want revenge, but because the universe works through Scorpio and Scorpio knows it. Let me say this clearly. Scorpio doesn't chase you. They let karma deliver the lesson. It may not come today. It may not come tomorrow. But it always comes. Because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the cosmic surgeon, the transformer, the great revealer. And when you deceive someone born under this sign, the consequences aren't just personal. They're spiritual. I've watched this happen in real life. A Scorpio friend of mine once told me about a business partner who lied on a contract, just one small clause. It was meant to shift a few $1,000s in his favor. No one else noticed. But the Scorpio felt it in her bones. She never confronted him. She never caused a scene. She walked away gracefully. She said, "Some things reveal themselves with time. I don't have to be the one to expose it." 6 months later, that same business partner lost a huge deal. It was completely unrelated, or so it seemed. But what he didn't realize was that the energy he put into the world had already begun echoing back to him. That's Scorpio's karmic nature. They don't wish you harm. They just know the laws of energy. Lie and you send out distortion. Betray trust and you fracture the field. Scorpio doesn't have to curse you. The universe will correct the imbalance on their behalf. And here's the chilling part. Scorpio doesn't even need to know the whole truth. They just need to feel something's off. That's enough. They won't argue. They won't play detective. They'll step back, recalibrate, and let life do the rest. That's when you start noticing things fall apart. Not because Scorpio hexed you, because the spiritual bond was broken, and now you're on your own. Scorpio has a deep relationship with endings. They are not afraid to lose people. In fact, they were born knowing that every connection has an expiration date, especially when truth is sacrificed. So if you lie to a Scorpio, don't look for fireworks. Look for silence. Look for distance. And then look at your life. What breaks afterward? What starts unraveling? What patterns begin repeating? That's not coincidence. That's consequence. Life lesson. When you lie to a Scorpio, they may not respond with rage, but the universe will respond with truth. In Scorpio's world, energy never lies, and karma always arrives, not to punish but to purify. Because for Scorpio, truth isn't just a value, it's sacred law. Reason 5. Their loyalty is sacred. Betrayal is desecration. You can lie to someone casual. You can lie to someone you barely know, and maybe, just maybe, they'll let it go. But when you lie to a Scorpio, someone who has let you into their sacred space of loyalty, you don't just lie to a person, you violate a vow. Because Scorpio doesn't give loyalty lightly. Their trust isn't built over shared laughs or small talk. It's built over deep soul-level bonding, the kind that takes time, vulnerability, and complete emotional nakedness. So when they open up, when they choose you, when they call you theirs, it means something ancient. It's not just affection, it's a blood oath. And when you betray that loyalty with a lie, it doesn't just hurt them, it desecrates something holy inside them. To understand this, you have to know how rare it is for a Scorpio to trust. They watch, they wait, they test. Not to manipulate, but to protect their soul. Because once they bond completely. They defend you in rooms you're not even in. They protect your secrets as if they were their own. They love with a loyalty that makes others feel invincible. And that's the danger. Because when someone receives Scorpio's loyalty, they often take it for granted. They assume, oh, they'll always be there. They'll understand. They'll forgive. No, Scorpio's loyalty is not endless. It's conditional on one sacred rule. Be real. Tell the truth. Even if it hurts. Even if it's messy. Because a Scorpio would rather cry from truth than smile at a lie. When you lie to them, you're not just being dishonest. You're telling them, your loyalty was misplaced. Your love was unworthy of the truth. And that shatters something. Let me give you a personal story. A Scorpio woman I knew once told me about her partner, someone she defended for years. Through family conflict, through financial stress, through self-doubt. She gave everything: time, trust, her entire emotional presence. Until one day she found out he had lied. Not just once, but many times. He said, I didn't want to lose you. She said, you already did. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply walked out and never came back. And what stayed with me was what she said afterward. It wasn't the lie that hurt the most. It was that he lied to someone who would have forgiven the truth. Scorpio loyalty is sacred. It's fierce. It's rare. And if you betray it, you don't just lose their trust. You lose access to their soul. Forever. Life lesson. Never mistake a Scorpio's loyalty for blindness. They see you. They choose you fully. And they expect the same. Betray that sacred bond with a lie, and you won't just lose their love. You'll lose a spiritual guardian who once believed in you with everything they had. Reason 6. Scorpio sees the lie behind your smile. You're smiling. You're saying all the right things. You're pretending everything is fine. But inside you're hiding something, and you think they don't see it. You think the mask you wear is flawless. You think they're buying it. But what you don't realize is that when you stand in front of a Scorpio, you're standing in front of a mirror. And no matter how charming, polished, or persuasive you are, they see straight through you. Scorpio isn't fooled by nice words. They aren't impressed by appearances. They don't care how many compliments you give or how steady your eye contact is. Because Scorpio reads energy. They feel the vibrational dissonance between what you're saying and what you're truly feeling. And once they detect that gap, it's like watching a movie and seeing the script in your hand at the same time. They know it's an act. This is what separates Scorpio from other signs. While some listen to what you say, Scorpio listens to what you avoid. They hear the tremble you try to hide. They notice the flash in your eyes when a certain name is mentioned. They feel the cold hesitation behind your warmth. And even if they don't say anything in the moment, you can feel it in their silence. That shift, that quiet, powerful "I see you." Let me tell you a story. A man once worked closely with a Scorpio colleague. Intelligent, reserved, emotionally observant. He tried to hide the fact that he was quietly taking credit for her ideas in meetings. It was subtle, never direct plagiarism, but enough manipulation to shift the narrative. She never called him out. She even smiled politely, thanked him in group discussions, continued her work like nothing was wrong. But then the energy changed. One day she stopped contributing. Then she was moved to another project. Quietly, respectfully. 2 months later, a new department head was assigned, and he was removed from the position. Not dramatically, just transitioned out. And she remained, still smiling, still silent, because she had seen the lie long before the consequences arrived. That's Scorpio. They don't react to deception with rage. They respond with distance, and eventually with divine orchestration. Because when Scorpio sees a lie, they don't always need to expose it. They wait and let the truth unravel itself. They are the ultimate emotional detectives, but they rarely show their cards. Why? Because Scorpio doesn't need to prove anything to you. They just need to be true to themselves. And if your smile doesn't match your spirit, they'll step back without warning, without guilt. Life lesson. With Scorpio, there is no hiding, no pretending, no almost honesty. They were born with emotional X-ray vision. And if your words wear a mask, they will see the face underneath. Lie behind a smile, and you'll lose them behind a silence you'll never break. Reason 7. Their memory is eternal. Even if they forgive, they don't forget. You might think time will erase what you did. That one day, things will go back to normal. That maybe, just maybe, they'll forget the lie. Move on. Let it go. But with Scorpio, time doesn't heal lies. Preserves them. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation and the underworld, but also of memory encoded in the soul. And when someone they trust deceives them, that moment becomes etched into their emotional DNA. They may not speak about it again. They may never bring it up. They might even say, "It's okay. I forgive you." But that does not mean they've forgotten. You see, when Scorpio says, "I forgive you," it doesn't mean, "Let's pretend it never happened." It means, "I'm choosing not to destroy you." Big difference. Their memory is not vengeful. It's precise. They remember what you said, how you said it, what you didn't say, the expression on your face, the tone of your voice, even the date, the weather, the music playing in the background. And every time you lie, you leave a footprint on their soul. That footprint doesn't fade. It gets filed away. Not for punishment, but for protection. Scorpios are emotional archivists. They don't just remember, they record. Not because they're obsessed with holding grudges, but because their survival depends on recognizing energetic patterns. They remember who lied, how it felt, and how long it took them to heal. So next time, they know better. Let me tell you a true story. A Scorpio man once forgave his best friend for lying to him. Not once, but twice. He didn't cut him off. He didn't explode. He said, "We all make mistakes." But from that day on, something in him shifted. He still hung out with his friend, still laughed, still showed up. But inside, the bond had been reassigned. That friend was no longer family. He had been silently demoted. Years later, the friend asked, "Why don't you talk to me like you used to?" The Scorpio said, "Because I remember." That's it. Not angry, not bitter, just honest. That's what makes Scorpio different. They remember with emotional clarity, not revenge. And while they may not act on that memory, they'll build a new emotional reality based on it. One where your access to them is limited. One where they love you with caution instead of fire. One where you no longer sit in the sacred space of their full trust. Life lesson. Don't mistake Scorpio's forgiveness for amnesia. They may let it go, but they never erase it. And the next time you wonder why they're quieter, colder, more distant, look back. Because while you were moving on, they were remembering in silence with precision forever. Reason 8. They won't confront you. They'll outgrow you. When you lie to most people, they might demand an explanation. They'll ask, "Why did you lie?" They'll try to fix it, fight about it, go back and forth until someone gives in. But when you lie to a Scorpio, they don't chase, they evolve. You may not even realize you've been caught. There may be no drama, no accusations, no dramatic goodbye, just a shift in energy, a silence, a steady and unshakable withdrawal. Because Scorpio doesn't need to prove you wrong. They just need to remember who they are. That's what makes this sign so spiritually powerful. They don't stay in spaces that lower their frequency. And lies? Lies are like poison to their soul. So instead of confronting the liar, they transform. They redirect all that hurt, disappointment, and spiritual shock into growth, into power, into the next level of themselves. And in doing so, they create a gap so wide between you and them, you won't even recognize who they become. You'll look for the same Scorpio, but that version of them only existed in your truth. And once you lied, that timeline collapsed. Scorpio is a sign of death and rebirth. When you lie to them, the bond as it once was dies. And instead of mourning it forever, they resurrect themselves. Let me tell you a story that chills me to this day. A woman shared that after 5 years with her Scorpio partner, she lied about her past. Not because she was malicious, but because she was afraid he wouldn't understand. He never yelled, never accused. But after that day, his love changed. Not in cruelty, in quality. He stopped being open, stopped dreaming aloud, stopped letting her in. She noticed him reading more, meditating, working harder, transforming. Months later, he ended the relationship calmly and respectfully. She begged to understand what happened. He said, "I realized I needed to be with someone I don't have to decode." She was stunned. He had never even told her he knew. Because Scorpio doesn't always need to confront the liar. Sometimes they just grow beyond them. And once they've outgrown the lie, they've outgrown you. You're left wondering what happened, why things feel cold, why the connection can't be revived. But Scorpio knows. They were loyal to the truth, and the moment that truth was betrayed, their spirit began preparing for departure. Life lesson: never confuse Scorpio's silence for weakness. When they stop chasing the truth, it's because they've already found the answer. And it didn't include you. Lie to a Scorpio and they won't fight you. They'll elevate beyond you. And by the time you realize what you lost, they'll be gone wiser, stronger, and reborn. Reason 9. Once the bond is severed, it can never be restored. With most people, there's a cycle. A lie, a confrontation, an apology, period of distance. Then, eventually things return to normal. But with Scorpio, once the thread of trust is cut, it is never rewoven. There is no going back to how things were. No matter how sincere your apology is, no matter how many tears you shed, no matter how many times you say, it won't happen again. Because when Scorpio loves, they don't love from the surface. They love from the soul. They fuse their energy with yours. They intertwine their intuition with your presence. They don't just like you, they let you in. And for them, trust is a spiritual bond, not a social contract. So when that bond is broken, it's not repaired, it's buried. Scorpio doesn't do performative forgiveness. They don't forget just to keep the peace. They don't stitch a cracked foundation and pretend it's solid. They rebuild, but without you in the blueprint. It's not bitterness. It's energetic self-respect. Scorpio knows that once the soul is wounded by betrayal, pretending everything is fine is its own form of self-betrayal. And Scorpio will never betray themselves for the comfort of keeping someone who broke them. Let me paint you a real-life picture. A man once dated a Scorpio woman who adored him deeply. She supported him emotionally, believed in his vision, held space for his childhood wounds. But he lied about something that, in his mind, was small. She found out quietly. She said nothing immediately. She stayed silent for weeks. Then one day, she looked him in the eyes and said, "This version of us is over. I may still care, but the soul contract we had, I felt it rip. And I don't patch up sacred things with borrowed threads." That was it. She didn't yell. She didn't punish. She simply closed a chapter and never reopened it. You see, Scorpio believes in emotional finality. When a bond dies, it's not on life support. It's laid to rest. Because for them, carrying a fake version of a once holy connection is more painful than releasing it altogether. And this is what most people don't understand. Scorpio's boundaries are not walls, they're gates of initiation. And once you break the sacred code of truth, you no longer pass through. Life lesson: don't test the limits of Scorpio's trust thinking you can win it back. Their forgiveness may be granted, but their connection won't be. Lie once and they may mourn. Lie twice and they'll move on. But lie to their soul, and you'll be remembered only as a lesson in who never deserved to stay. Reason 10: they mirror your intentions back to you. Scorpio doesn't always react to lies with punishment. They don't always call you out, walk away, or seek revenge. Sometimes they choose something far more powerful. They reflect you, because one of Scorpio's most mystifying abilities is their power to become a mirror. Not for your words, but for your intentions. When you lie to a Scorpio, something inside them recalibrates. They no longer respond from the heart. They respond from observation. They shift from being emotionally available to energetically aware. And this is where the game changes. You might continue pretending, smiling, acting like everything is fine. But now Scorpio is mirroring your energy, not your words. They say just enough, do just enough. They give you back the exact level of authenticity you gave them. Filtered, distant, incomplete. Not to be petty, but to maintain equilibrium. Scorpio believes in energetic fairness. And if you lead, then the relationship is no longer real. And Scorpio will not pour real love into a fake foundation. So they match your vibration word for word, tone for tone, silence for silence. Let me tell you a true story. A Scorpio woman once discovered her partner had been emotionally dishonest. He hadn't cheated, but he had been hiding certain friendships, downplaying events, subtly rewriting truth. She asked nothing. She exploded in no way. Instead, she shifted. Where she used to share deeply, she became brief. Where she used to initiate connection, she became passive. Where she used to open her soul, she offered surface. He noticed. He asked what was wrong. She said, "Nothing. I'm just reflecting you." That's Scorpio power. Not revenge. Not punishment. Just a precise energetic mirror. And here's the most haunting part. Most people don't even realize it's happening. They think Scorpio has changed, become cold, distant, withdrawn. But what's really happening is this. You're no longer receiving their soul. You're receiving yourself through them. This is spiritual alchemy. It's what makes Scorpio such a powerful transformer of relationships. They won't always call the lie out. They'll just let it echo through their presence until you hear it in your own emptiness. Because Scorpio knows, there is no more painful punishment than confronting your own emotional dishonesty, reflected back at you from someone who once gave you everything. Life lesson: lying to a Scorpio won't always provoke their wrath. Sometimes it summons their mirror. And if you see coldness in their eyes, distance in their touch, or silence in their words, don't ask what's wrong. Ask what you've projected. Because Scorpio becomes what you are. And in their reflection, the truth always returns. Reason 11. The punishment isn't dramatic, it's spiritual. You might expect fire, a confrontation, a breakdown, a storm, something obvious. But Scorpio's punishment isn't loud. It's invisible, energetic, deep, and it haunts you quietly. Because when you lie to a Scorpio, the universe doesn't send thunder. It sends silence, distance, an absence so vast, so soul-piercing. You feel it long after they've left. Here's what you need to understand. Scorpio isn't interested in punishing you with childish tactics. They won't expose you online. They won't slander your name. They won't weaponize drama. Because Scorpio knows something far more powerful. The energy you bring into this world will circle back to you. Not in anger, in echo. And when you lie to someone born under this sign, someone who operates on truth, loyalty, and raw emotional honesty, you don't just hurt a person. You send a message to the universe. I reject the sacred. And the universe listens. So does Scorpio. And while they may not wish you harm, they will step back, withdraw their energy, and let the universe handle the rest. And what happens next? You begin to feel the vacuum. The emotional nourishment they used to give? Gone. The intuitive support? Gone. The spiritual safety? Gone. You start to wonder why your energy feels fragmented, why things begin to fall apart, why you're stuck in cycles that feel strangely familiar. But Scorpio already knows. Because when you lie to someone whose soul was aligned with truth, you invite imbalance into your own. Let me give you a story. A Scorpio man once told me about a friend who had been subtly deceiving him for years. Little lies, hidden agendas, emotional manipulation disguised as friendship. But he never exploded. He never confronted. He simply withdrew, bit by bit, until one day the connection was gone. A year later, that same friend called him sobbing. He had lost his job. His relationship had crumbled. He felt cursed. But Scorpio understood. Not in a vengeful way, in a karmic way. Because Scorpio knows. What is false eventually collapses. What is true always returns. And if you lie to a Scorpio, you don't get thunder. You get transformation. Not theirs, yours. And it hurts. Not because they cursed you, but because you aligned yourself with something fake. And Scorpio doesn't live in fiction. Life lesson. The real punishment for lying to a Scorpio isn't their rage. It's their removal. The void they leave behind isn't empty space. It's sacred silence. And in that silence, the universe speaks. If you ever feel like you lost something priceless without a fight, it's because Scorpio fought with their spirit and walked away without needing to prove a thing. Reason 12. Lying to a Scorpio is like lying to the universe. Truth always returns. There are some lies you can bury, some truths you can delay, some secrets you can carry for years. But when you lie to a Scorpio, you're not just lying to a person, you're lying to a channel of universal truth. Because Scorpio isn't just intuitive, they're connected to spirit, to soul, to the frequencies beyond the physical. They were born under the sign of Pluto, the ruler of life, death, rebirth, and the hidden realms. This gives them a spiritual assignment that most people don't understand until it's too late. To uncover what's buried, to expose what's false, to resurrect what's real. So when you lie to a Scorpio, it might feel like you got away with it. First, they might stay silent. They might even act normal. You'll convince yourself, they don't know. I'm safe. But the truth? Scorpio already felt it. And now the truth has been set in motion. Whether you realize it or not, it will return. It will rise. It will find you because Scorpio is a spiritual mirror. And when you lie to them, you are tampering with cosmic law. And the universe always restores balance. Let me tell you a final story, one that still gives me goosebumps. A woman once lied to her Scorpio sister about a life-changing financial decision. It was meant to protect the family, she claimed. She said it was temporary, that she had no choice. The Scorpio sister never raised her voice. She simply said, "You know what happens to people who bury the truth?" Years later, that same woman came forward in tears. Her life had unraveled. Her health suffered. Her relationships became riddled with mistrust. She said, "It's like I've been haunted by something ever since I did that." And the Scorpio? She simply looked at her and said, "That's the truth coming back for you." Because Scorpio knows something most people forget. The truth has a soul. It lives. It breathes. It cannot be silenced forever. And when you lie to a Scorpio, you're lying to someone who was born to excavate that truth. In themselves, in others, and in the world around them. So it may take months, years. But the truth always returns. Not with a bang. With a whisper. In your mind. In your dreams. In the way they look at you without saying a word. And that, my friend, is the moment you'll feel it. The weight of what you tried to escape. Final life lesson. Scorpio is not just a person. They are a vessel for spiritual equilibrium. When you lie to them, the universe hears it. And the energy you tried to bury becomes your greatest teacher. Because no matter how far you run from the truth, it will come back. And it will come through Scorpio. Conclusion. The truth Scorpio demands, and the lesson we all need. So now you know. It's not the lie itself that destroys things with a Scorpio. It's the violation of sacred trust. It's the disrespect to their intuition. It's the arrogance of thinking they wouldn't feel it when they were born to feel it. Scorpio is not just another sign on the Zodiac wheel. They are the guardians of emotional truth, the gatekeepers of energetic purity, the ones who walk through shadows not to scare you, but to awaken you. They don't just want honesty, They require it at the soul level. And when you lie to a Scorpio, you don't just break their heart. You break the spiritual current that once flowed between you. That current doesn't regenerate easily, and sometimes it never does. But here's the truth most people miss. Scorpio doesn't want perfection. They don't expect you to be flawless. They can handle pain, darkness, even mistakes. What they can't handle is fake. They would rather you cry in front of them with your mess exposed than watch you smile while holding back the storm they can already feel. So if you're blessed enough to have a Scorpio in your life, tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it risks the relationship, even if your voice shakes, because that truth may hurt them for a moment, but your lie, that hurts them forever. And once you lose a Scorpio's trust, you lose access to something divine, their loyalty, their protection, their silent prayers for you, their soul. So ask yourself, not just with Scorpio but in life, what's worth more? Comfortable lies or uncomfortable truth that sets your soul free? Because in the end, the Scorpio in your life may be the only person who ever loved you enough to demand the truth, even when it cost them everything. Final reflection. If you've ever lied to a Scorpio, maybe it's time to make things right. Not because they need it, but because you do. And if you are a Scorpio, never forget, your gift is sacred. Your intuition is ancient. Your energy is your shield. Protect it. If this spoke to your soul, leave a comment. Have you ever experienced a Scorpio's silence after a lie? Or felt the energy shift so strongly you couldn't breathe? Let's talk about it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the Path to Buddha Wisdom, where we explore the deepest truths of the Zodiac and the hidden power inside you. Until next time, walk with truth and protect your soul.